and welcome to the Everton Women's Report Show, your place for all things Everton Women. I'm Chloe, your new host, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here. Unfortunately, our lovely Kira has had to step down from her hosting duties due to other commitments, and we wish her the very best, and hopefully we'll get her on here one time to chat like the old times. I have a new co-host for today. John, how have you been?
I've been well, thank you very much. Yeah. Yourself? I mean, the weather's very English, but yeah, it's not been too bad.
It's been a bit chilly, but other than that, it's been okay.
Yeah, well, it's English weather, isn't it? Okay, a bit like a bit like Everton Women. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get onto that in a minute. But a lot has changed within our Everton squad recently. We've had multiple players leave. Hannah Benson's gone to UV. We've lost Catherine V to Crystal Palace, and
Yeah,
of course, the lovely Tony has retired. How are you feeling about some of our
yeah.
departures?
Always seems to be Everton, a bit like kind of when David Moyes was manager of the men's team. We always seem to lose a big name every season, and I think, yeah, and I mean, I think the people have stepped up really, really well. I think Megan Finnegan's been brilliant. I still think we're recovering from Gabby George. I think
Yeah.
Hannah Bennison was certainly our best ball player, has now gone. I'm a big fan of Aurora Gali, yeah, but obviously she's now out for the season. And I think with Tony, she decided to retire. Tony was always that kind of player that could put the ball in the net. And again, big, massive Catchy Snodges fan. We don't seem to have that goal scorer. We seem to have a lot of games where we're creating so many chances, but wouldn't it be nice just to have that player that can just stick the ball in the net, which in a lot of ways is what separates a lot of the teams in the WSL, having that player that can stick the ball in the goal. And I mean, I think our equaliser was quite fortuitous, but you can see when Mel Lawley come on, there's a player who actually drives forward. I do think there's a lot of tippy-tappy going on, and I think he's certainly bringing players in, but whether the players are actually replacing, and I do think Benison will be a huge miss, as I do think Tony. Well, he shouldn't play a lot, but I think Tony's just a natural goal scorer, and you're sitting there now. Where are the goals coming from?
Yeah, 100%. I think as well with Tony, she was that like natural leader. She had massive experience within the game, and she was that kind of, like you said, she didn't play a lot, but she kind of had that influence on the players where her knowledge and power was kind of worth more than her power on the pitch. And we've been saying that we've also invested in some new signings. We've got Tony Payne in
We
McGabry,
have,
who we've sadly
yes.
just lost to an injury. We've got Victor coming in. We've got Mel Lawley. We've got Honoka
Yeah.
Hashi. Um, I
Mm.
I've watched a couple of the games, and I think Tony Payne has been absolutely excellent from what I've seen of her, and I think she's one who can go pretty far.
I'd have to totally agree with you, Chloe. I think it's time. As I say, I'm a massive Snodges fan. I think she's such a hard worker, but I think it's time he pulled the trigger and started playing Tony Payne. I wouldn't mind seeing a Sari, Payne, and Lawley front three. I think it's very interchangeable. I think Tony Payne's very direct. I think she's powerful. She wants to make. I think it's time he pulled the trigger and started playing. He signed the forward. We don't have score that many goals, and then he almost seems to. And obviously, he's got loyalty to Snodges. I get that. At the moment, it's not working for her. Whether that means she has a couple of games from the bench, she's dropped for a little bit. But yeah, I like Tony Payne. I think Sari's a player. And I think the girl Hayashi in the middle is given the chance in the right formation could be a real good service provider.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Mel Lawley, she speaks for herself with experience. She has come from the red side to to
Yes. Yeah, but so did Peter Beard. Like, you're probably a bit too young for that, but I remember that. And believe me, that the hate and love is a very, very, very close thing, because when that lad banged in the winner for Everton, we forgot his past indiscretions. So if she does a few more of that for us, we'll forgive her.
Yeah, I mean, I think she had a brilliant game just recently against West Ham.
Yeah. Thought she was excellent. Thought she came on and changed it.
100%. And speaking of games, we shall start with our first game, which was away the first game of the series, which was away at Brighton. Unfortunately, we suffered a 4-0 loss against the Seagulls with Kiko Seki completing a hat trick. And that was, of course, the game we lost our beloved Yaya to an ACL injury.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a bit like, isn't it? Getting absolutely battered, hurt, and then they're not having a bed for you. It was real insult to injury. Yaya went and God, he's got so much about her, and now she's out for this season. I just think Brighton were very good. I think Brighton were excellent. I think Brighton have invested in some really, really good, experienced signings. I think Keats going there will prove to be a very, very shrewd signing. I think they invested well. Obviously, the hat-trick hero for them, excellent. But I think with Sorensen, we're always going to get his style of play. He's very loyal to his style of play. The team's very loyal to his style of play. When it goes well, we can get them results. And you look against Arsenal and Manchester United, we a lot of the time, yeah, we sucked up pressure, but we stood toe to toe with them. But when it's going to go wrong, I just fear them. We're on the back end of potentially more whackings. And as I referred back earlier, unless we dig out a goal scorer who's going to score them goals or them goals against the run of play, I think we might be in for a few of them this season. I do hope I'm wrong, though.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. It's just I just feel like they're kind of missing that attack a little bit. Like it's like we've got signings, we've lost signings, but they've not really gelled
Mm.
together. I mean, looking back on the most two recent games, Arsenal and West Ham, and even Newcastle, they looked a lot different from, say,
Mm.
the earlier games because I think they're finally starting
Yeah.
to find, okay, we're working with this, we're working with that. But
Mm.
I feel as well, this is almost the most complete that Brian Sorenson's side has been for a while.
Yeah, and then he loses it to injury. And I think hopefully we'll get to speak again. I was talking to my mate in work who's not really interested in women's football, and I was saying 2 games, 2 ACL injuries. Arsenal, I think, lost, was it 4 players to ACLs
Yeah.
last year? I think it's certainly a side debate is we're going to invest in women's football. It needs to be a separate entity to the men, but it needs to be safe. These girls are at the peak of their fitness. What's going wrong? And all I can put down is it the state of the pitches? Because these ACL injuries, they're career threatening. You're talking at least a season out the game, and then do you come back? Are you ever the same? But yeah, I think Sorensen's invested quite wisely. I personally am a traditionalist. I would have mind maybe seeing another couple of fullbacks come in, but I have to say, I think when she plays, I think one of the unsung heroes has been Claire Wheeler. I think she's been excellent. I like home guard down the side as well. I think a twin when she's back, I think that'll be a big thing. But yeah, I think he's certainly, striking and scoring was the problem. And he's gone out and bought forwards. He's bought players with an attacking emphasis. So yeah, I think if it clicks, great. But I always worry a little bit that if it isn't clicking, the style we play, we're there to get picked off.
Yeah, 100% agree with all of that. And in regarding to the ACL injuries, we always say more needs to be done. Like we need to do more to protect the players. Is it say like physical fitness? Is it too many games? Is
Mm.
it the state of pitches? Because looking back, 3 out of the 4 at Arsenal were done at the Emirates, which is the men's
Mm.
stadium. Only one was done at which was Lee Sport, which was Leah Williamson. Like, what? How much more research can people invest? I know that they've started the project ACL, which is aims to kind of look into why these happen.
Mm.
What more do you think could be done in terms of trying to prevent this? Because Everton have, like you said, we've got 2 now that's happened.
Mm. Well, I mean, I didn't realise that. Probably 3 out of the 4 being the Emirates is they would say it's like a carpet. So then you have to think it must go back to the training. What's the medical staff? I mean, at some point you have to put at the door. I don't see any player for Everton that's unfit. I see them all at peak fitness now. I think more's been invested in. And I can remember when they used to all finish work when I worked for Everton, come to Finch Farm, and they all look absolutely knackered, and they still go out at the weekend and do well. But it has to be a training thing because, it, you know, you'll get. I mean, God rest his soul. My dad would say, "Well, it's a man and woman thing. But I don't believe that for a second. I don't think these athletes have anything wrong with them. But there's certainly something going wrong. And I think perhaps roads lead back to the medical staff. Is it maybe a greater collaboration? Does a doctor need to come out and say, does there need to be more research done? Because as you say, the first thing you do is you blame the pitches, then you look at the fitness. The Emirates is like a carpet. These players are all absolutely peak fitness athletes, all in their prime. So it has to be, I would say, how are they being trained? Are they being trained a certain way? Do training methods have to change? Do opinions and foresight and how people see things, mantras have to change? And I think maybe it's got to be a behind the scenes thing because, one ACL is bad luck. 2 in 2 games, you're thinking, I mean, you've smashed a few mirrors there, haven't you?
Yeah. It's just unfortunate, and like we've been saying, Brian is unfortunately riddled with injuries at the moment. Like it's not going well for him, and we all feel awful. Like we all just want to give him a big hug through the screen, like, oh, it will be okay. But moving on to the game against United, the first game back at home, I don't think that they necessarily played badly. I think that
No.
Everton played really, really well. And it's just unfortunate that the one goal came from former Blue Grace Clinton, but she's also had an exceptional season so far.
She's looking like a player. She's looking like a real player. I think she's going to be one of the won't say surprises, but I think if maybe you were thinking about who's going to be a star this season, I think she will certainly surprise. Not that she hasn't got the ability, I think she will surprise with how good she is. I think the side she's got, and clearly she can add goals to her game. Yeah, but no, I agree with you. I thought we did well, and I always think it's funny. It's almost like we follow Everton. It's Everton to us, so it doesn't matter men, women. But I look at obviously Sean Dyche is the ultimate pragmatist, and Brian Sorensen is loyal to his football and what he wants to do. But I actually think Everton do that underdog thing quite well. I actually think Everton. I always think with Everton Women, I'm always feeling they're going to get more on the road. I think sometimes when we've got a chance to control the play and play against teams you don't want to play as much as us, it can almost be bad for us. But when we have a chance to sort of batten down the hatches and another player, I think Lucy Hope gets a grip. When she's in there, I always feel a lot better. I think her and Megan Finnegan, they're leaders, and they know how to do the tactical fouls. They know they've got that savvy, that nous. But I always think when Everton Women are underdogs and no one's expecting that from them, we tend to do better. Like West Ham, I thought, well, come on, we'll do this. And you see, early chance, and then Wallop were 1-0 down, and more chances. And then Lawley comes on and grabs an equaliser. It was certainly 2 points lost, but against United, I thought, but for a little bit of luck, we could have easily got something out of that game.
Yeah, I 100% did. And I mean, I thought Justine Haverman also had a really good game. I thought she was gonna get one in at the end. Like when it looped over, I'm like, this is going in. She's gonna
Yeah.
score. And she
Oh,
just didn't. But unfortunately, we also lost new summer signing Gabero to an ACL injury, like we've been discussing before, which I
yeah.
think is such a shame because she's a young talent, she's new signing, and I was
Mm.
really excited to see her take on like a role and see what part she could play in this Everton side.
I have to agree with you 100%. And what I think will really hurt Brian most and the fans is she actually looks like a Sorensen type of player. What I've been impressed with her, it doesn't really matter who she's facing. I like the fact that she gets hold of the ball and the old English mentality of just hoof it isn't really with her. She wants to hold the ball, have a go. She seems to look like, I think she's certainly got goals in her when she's back. Here's to a speedy recovery. But I think with her, I like her when she goes out wide. I think she can come inside. I think she's got a real idea of how to play football. I think with the right, I think she's another one who can really complement Tony Payne because my hope is one day Tony Payne's right through that middle, bombing on. And I think with her pace and power and players like that around her, I think she can score a lot of goals. But yeah, Gabaro, it's just as soon as you're seeing a player, wallop, she goes out. And that's what you have to feel for Brian. No, fan of him, not a fan of him, whatever. He hasn't got a massive squad compared to some of the other teams. You look at Arsenal's, it's world class talent coming from the bench. we're thinking we're channeling our blood the likes of Izzy Hobson. So Paul O'Brien, he brings in this player who looks like a player, and now has got to sit in the stand for the whole season.
I know, and it's just such a shame for her. Like, you really, everyone in the stands and the stadium went silent at that moment she went down. So it was almost like everyone knew
Mm.
that that's what
Yeah,
it was. It was like, this is just so heartbreaking for her, particularly at like 21 as well.
yeah, exactly. Just she's getting better, isn't she? She's moving towards her prime, and then suddenly a year of that development is gone now.
Yeah, definitely. And so then moving on to a midweek game in the Cup, which was Newcastle
Yeah,
won, Everton won, but it was 3-0 on penalties because of the way that
was.
the way the cup works, and I think this is a really weird scheme that if it's drawn,
Yeah,
the game's drawn, then you've got to have penalties, so the winner of the
yeah,
penalty gets an extra point. I think it's a really weird
yeah. The
concept.
bonus point.
What's your opinions on it?
Do you know what? Yes, but I like it. I just think it's great. I do, and I do think it's a great idea because I think you get a lot of international breaks in women's football, and I'm sitting there, right, and I'm looking, thinking, right, I can really get ahead of steam here. I can start doing some articles, start, putting stuff out on Rugby, and then I'm like, oh, they're on an international break, they're on a Christmas break. So I do quite like the group stage. And I do quite like the penalty thing. And I tell you something, I don't think I like it quite as much as Courtney Brosnan because that
Oh,
game was the Courtney Brosnan show. And I have to say, the form that girl is in is just, she is, you'd have to say, name of the player of the season so far. I think she's been immense. So I do quite enjoy that. And also, as well, I think Brian has always prioritised the league, and that's your bread and butter. But I just would love to see, the young fans, because you see, particularly the young girls go and stuff like that. I'd love to see us on a little bit of a cup run. Let's just see how we do. We aren't winning the league. I would love to see us on a little bit of a cup run and ruffling a few feathers. The FA Cup last year, I think, was so unlucky against Chelsea. Chelsea led the best side in the league. I thought for large parts we matched them. So I would love to see a little Continental Cup run, and wouldn't it be great if it was penalties every single game and the Courtney Brosnan show? And how many can she save today?
oh, I think she's been absolutely fabulous this season. But I said that about her last season. Like, I love her presence. I love her presence and ability on the pitch. Like, she is always the only one you can ever hear when she's on the pitch, and it doesn't matter where you're stood at Walton Hall, you will be able to hear Courtney. And this really was her game. Like, she was absolutely loving it as well, wasn't she? She was just soaking it
Oh,
all up.
God, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you're amazing. Like, that's her game of
yeah.
the season for me so far.
It can't not be, can it? I mean, sitting there writing it up, and what made me laugh was they made it retake her, and everyone's a bit like, I think she was actually pleased because she thought, right, you're going to make me retake the penalty. It's going to be the same result. Lo and behold, she bats it away. And, obviously, Anthony Gordon did the same to Pickford. And you do get a lot of people going, well, it's a terrible penalty, terrible penalty. You still got to save him. But some of them penalties Newcastle took against us weren't bad penalties. They were immense saves. I know there's a school of thought that no one should miss a penalty, but, Courtney didn't stand still and gather them. She moved and she saved them. They were good penalties. They weren't as good as ours, but they were good penalties. So Courtney Brosnan deserves all the credit in the world there. And then, as you say, to save and then go and save the retake, it's Roy of the Rovers stuff, isn't it?
It's 100%. And it's what dreams are made of. Like, we all like, oh, go on court. Like, fully, everyone will be a Courtney Brosnan fan after
Yeah.
that game. So, next up, and I think for me, this was a game where I was like, sorry. It's Arsenal Everton. The game ended 0-0 with um Everton getting their first points at Arsenal in 14 years.
Yes. Yes. Well, records are there. I always say, I don't know if you ever read any of my pieces, I always kind of dread when we're playing that top four. I know you have to put Liverpool in there now. We've got a good record against them, but I always dread the top four because you look at the record and you think, never won, never won, never won. Last time they've won, it wasn't even a WSL. And I'm always trying to intimate, I try and end on a positive. Records are there to be broken. And yes, we didn't win, but you wouldn't pick, if it has to feel like a win, because you would never pick the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal, who are looking really, really good. I think they've got so much strength and depth. I think they're a really good side. I think they've got a good coach. And we go and get a point there. And okay, a large part of it was battening down the hatches. Brosnan again had to be very, very good. I think the defenders of the Finnegan stood tall. But let's not forget we had chances. Okay, if we'd have stole a win there, yes, it would have been the ultimate smash and grab. But it wasn't like literally save after save after save. There was some football played, and I think when Izzy comes off the bench, I'm always thinking now every time Izzy comes off the bench against Arsenal, she's going to write another chapter, and I did. I made a big thing about it because I think that's when Izzy Hobson really announced herself. And I think she's certainly more to that than just score. I don't think scoring goals is necessarily going to be her thing, but, I think with players there, and that's where I think it's very important for everyone and what stands it in good stead. And I think, even Tony Duggan leaving, we've got real characters. We've got the Lucys of the world. Van Havermar, naturally good leaders. And right at the back, we've got that lady in green who at the moment looks like a wall with a pair of gloves on. She's in such good form. Even I thought she was a bit unlucky for the goal on Sunday. I think it takes a bit of a knock off Claire Wheeler, I think, and goes in. But yeah, you never put Arsenal down and think, right, we'll get a point there. But we've gone and done it, and we have to be building on it. I think if you get a point at Arsenal, to be really, really critical, it kind of counts for nothing if you can't start beating the teams around you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Because I remember last season it was like the penultimate game, and it was Arsenal when we were at home at Wharton Hall, and they only lost 1-0. But I
Yes.
was looking at it going, we only lost one. Like years ago, even last year, this would have been like 5-6-0. This was
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
one, and it was literally towards like the
Mm.
80th minute. I think it was a Beth Mead goal. So it just proves like what
Yeah.
strength. Like we say, I mean, we keep
Mm.
saying that we're in an injury crisis. We're struggling a little bit with some players, but going there and
Mm.
getting a, a point
Yeah.
against one of the, say, a big four, that is Arsenal. It's just
Mm.
incredible. Courtney
Yeah.
had an absolutely incredible game again. She's really
Yeah.
proving herself this season. Like, I mean, I thought she was ace last season, like I keep saying, but this season she seems to really be like holding her own and like announcing herself almost like, yes, I'm here.
And I think as well, Chloe, I totally agree with you. I think she often goes unsung, and I think people tend to remember for her derby goals. I think having a Megan in front of her really, really helps. But then again, I'm a big Elise Stenovic fan. And then she goes out. I think she's such an accomplished player who can play so many positions. I think defensively, she's sound as well. And there's another injury. So but what you said there is totally true. A couple of seasons back we're losing four. So whether you're a Brian Sorensen fan, he's certainly building character. He's certainly establishing the right sort of characters, the likes of the Lucy Hopes, the Megans, the Courtneys. They're only going to be, and I mean, I know she's a teenager, but you look at Izzy Hobson, you're thinking, I see her as a future captain.
Yeah.
I actually see her personality and what she does. She's another one who will naturally, whether she's going to kind of maybe stay in Justine's role or go further back as a centre back as she evolved. I don't know, but I think she's got the right sort of mentality. You could just see her leading the team out and barking the orders, and I think she's got that about it. And it's great to have those characters coming through.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of that is to do with like, the Everton Academy. Like a lot of
Yeah.
our current players are academy players. And I think that
Mm.
makes such a difference. Like they know the team, it's their
Yeah.
home, and it's something that Everton have always prided themselves on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then moving on to Sunday's game, it was 1-1 against a struggling West Ham side, shall we say. Um, what
Mm.
did Mo Lawley get the goal? Did she not? That's the big question.
Well, I've given it to her. As you know, I've given it to her, and looking back, have I put my blue tinted spectacles on? Of course, I have. But you know what? It's Lawley's goal to take it off at. But I think the old thing is it was a goal, and whether it goes as an own goal or Lawley gets credited with the goal. What I liked about her, Chloe, was she gets the ball and she drove at the defence. And you know what? You can have the best footballing team in the world. You think about Barcelona and they go to the tippy tappy style when Pep Guardiola, they had those players that put the ball in the net. yes, they had players who could hold it up for you for 3 years if need be, but they had them play. And I think with Lawley, what I like about it, she's only 30. She's got a wealth of experience. There's still a couple of good seasons in her. Is she's willing to drive at her marker. She's willing to go. And I have to say, I've watched her a few times. I didn't realise how fast her feet were.
She is so
She has
quick.
got, yeah, she is, and obviously with Barlow going out, if Lawley's back, it might not be felt so, so. But to me, if he's going to go with a three-pronged attack, I want Lawley. I think she can do either wing. I think she's got crossing ability. I think her corners when she gets going. But she's the kind of person who will, if you've got attacking fullbacks, she's going to peg them back. And then feet. You think of the penalties and free kicks she's going to win. She's an absolute. And for me, I think if she's fit, she's got to start. I think away from home at Leicester, I think she can cause them real issue.
Yeah, 100%. Because when she came on, it only took her around 5 minutes to make
Yeah,
that move to the goal. It's like if it's
exactly.
5 minutes now, then it could take even less time. Like before, like she
Yeah.
just seemed to instantly slot into position.
Mm.
Like it didn't take
Yeah.
a while to find it or have a little like
Mm.
look around. She just went straight in and bam. And I feel like that's what we need, like the attacking players who are gonna just go straight for it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. And also, as well, you're talking about a lady who's not old, but she's full of experience. She's got a wealth of experience playing WSL football, playing for a number of teams. She knows the game. She's coming, she knows what she's doing. And you're a younger player, saying Tony Payne's inexperienced. You're Tony Payne, you're Sari, you're, players like that looking. Lawley will be a leader. She's the kind of player who knows what she wants to do, knows how to do it. And I think as well, I could just see. I mean, she's not the greatest to talk. I'll watch it on YouTube, but I think she's going to be one of them almost like silent leaders. She's going to do a talking with her feet. She will lead by example. We've got talkers. I think with Lawley, she's not really wanted. She's very Paul Scholes. I don't think she wants to do the media. But I think Lawley just wants to get that ball and drive. And you can see she's chomping at the bit. Yes, she's created that goal, but she's like, right, let's do this in the next game. You can see her now. She'll be Leicester, 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 Leicester. And I think that experience and that personality can only help if we are to, because she is the kind of player who have them games. I think Everton are due. I think Everton need where they get battered and then nick one. I think if anyone's going to nick the goal, it'll be her. Or she'll be the catalyst for scoring that goal. She'll play the decisive pass. And I do think in a lot of times, I think we've missed a lot of them players. Almost like, I mean, I'm not sure how old, but it always got me about Tim Cahill. Tim Cahill was one of them players who if anyone's going to get the one, it'd be him. He'd pop up with a header, and I think Lawley's got a little bit of that about her. I think she's the one who can influence the game. And you can have the best footballers in the world, but them players who influence games are worth the weight in gold. And I do believe Lawley is one. I think she's given us a few issues over the years, and I'm glad now she's in our tent spitting out, as it were.
Yeah. And just quickly looking ahead at Leicester, and also the two games we've got going at Goodison Park, which is against Chelsea
Rather exciting.
I'm quite excited about them. So we've got
Yeah,
Leicester.
you've got to be on there.
Yeah, I mean, so how do you think we're going to be against Leicester?
Well, again, it's no rhyme or reason, is there? Funny I wish you were sort of like playing Arsenal or someone again, but I think with Leicester, it's always been over. From what I remember, it's always statistically been a game that's had goals, and it's always been a game that has. I always seem to remember their keeper usually has a stormer. The keeper suddenly decides to turn into prime Neville Southall for some reason and has an absolute stormer. And I might be wrong, but the Leicester keeper always seems to do very, very well against us. But you know what? I think if we can, with Lawley, and we can keep players fit and there's no disasters on the training pitch, and I don't know how far home guard is, if Karen is from where, I fancy us to nick it. Yeah. I really do. I think now we've got a goal, a scruffy goal, a bit of a fortuitous goal, I think. But for me, I think if they're fit, I think Lawley and Payne has to start. I think Snodges has done well, and there's no reason why she can't take a place on the bench. But I just think with the directness of Lawley and the speed and strength of Payne, I just think they cause. We've got players who can give them problems because they're going to come at us. We know what we're going to expect from them. But I think now we've got players who can give them problems. So I think away from home, I always fancy us a little bit more than I do at home. So I'm going to be positive. I think I'll go for us to nick it.
Nice. Same. I'm hoping that they get the win. And then we're playing Chelsea on the 3rd of November. And I'm gonna have to make sure I get this right because it's been changed for TV purposes, which if you remember
Yes.
looking back last season, the derby at Goodison was not chosen for television. Um
No, it wasn't.
that Everton Liverpool will be on Sky Sports, but it will also be on Goodison Park at 3 o'clock on Sunday, the 17th of November. And we've just
Yeah.
been saying how excited we are that these two fixtures are going to be held at Goodison Park, the last time that they're going to be held
Yeah.
there.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a lot of excitement. I mean, I was fortunate enough, having worked at Everton, I was picked to go and speak to Lucy Hope last year. She was doing a lot of media at Goodison. I spoke to her, and she was talking about a derby then, and she mentioned now, you know, if we're lucky enough to get the next one, it's going to be the one at the last time. And I think sometimes, well, you can play the occasion rather than the game. It wouldn't surprise me if it's another real war of attrition and we end up getting a draw at Goodison and then going to Anfield and doing our usual win. But I mean, Goodison Park's so historic. You know, we've had so many memories there, good and bad. The world's greatest players have graced the game. You know, only English ground so far to hold a World Cup semi-final, domestic. You know, because Wembley held the other one, and and I think Chelsea, the best team in the league, and Liverpool, your local rivals. I think there's something very fitting about that. You know, how can you not raise the game? I do believe we'll get some decent crowds in there, and then you go back to the likes of Izzy Hobson, you know, a family of all blues. She's like a kid who'd won a raffle last year when she scored, won a raffle to play a game, come on and done it. And, you know, what's she going to feel like being in and around the squad? But then obviously you're going to need your older heads, your more experienced heads. I think it's going to be very, very, very a funny feeling for Lawley coming back with Everton playing against Liverpool. But how can you not get excited? Two fixtures in November, you know, and pardon the pun, you just know there's going to be fireworks. And I do think Sorensen will have them ready to really play their best. They're not going to be easy, talking two very tough games, but how can you not be excited, player or fan, to sort of get that? And what a great, you know, advertisement for the women's game, which, you know, is long overdue, really.
Yeah, 100%. Tickets for both of these fixtures will be available on the Everton FC website, and tickets starting at £10, which is really decent for families to go to. Get your family there.
Yes.
Great occasion.
Well, my little one has been Everton, then decided she wants to support Liverpool. Now she wants to support Everton again. So I'm actually already thinking if I'm not working one weekend, I might just take her up to experience it because she's playing football herself now. The school she goes to, Eleven Blackpool, the school she goes to, has signed a player, a 12-year-old girl. So there's been a huge interest for women's football and girls football. So that might be an occasion that she might travel up to see the hallowed turf. I said I'll take it to a men's game as well. But yeah, certainly, I think it's too good to miss. I've got to be seeing one of them games.
They're both incredible opportunities, incredible occasions. I'm very excited more for Chelsea because I'm now of the mindset if we can get a point at Arsenal, we can definitely get a point against Chelsea and
Yeah,
at Goodison as well.
yeah, and that's the thing as well. People say about records and stuff, but records end, you know, things get broken, streaks get broken. And, you know, yes, there's been times where we've been pulverized by the big four sides. But, you know, I've noticed the games are getting tougher, closer. Chelsea in the cup, you could see, you know, a few of the players go, they knew they'd been in a battle. They knew they'd nick one. You know, that wasn't, I think we had one off the bar and then they scored. I think Chelsea at Goodison, you know, a cold November night. Who knows? You know, cold November day in Liverpool. Why not? You know, and good on the girls, and I just hope they can do themselves justice. Which with Brian, I'm sure they will.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've covered everything. Yes, we have. So thank you all so much for watching. Huge thank you to John for joining me today. Um if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and then leave a comment below.